The first round of the playoffs are over, so let's talk about them. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. You obviously know what this video is about, so let's get straight to it. The first two series I want to quickly go over were two of the most one-sided matchups in the first round, between the number 1 seed Cavs and the number 10 seed Heat, and the number 1 seed Thunder and the number 8 seed Grizzlies. Starting off with the Cavs and Heat series, I thought it was crazy. People were saying the Heat had a chance of the upset. I get Heat culture is a thing, but without Jimmy Butler, it was always going to be a test to see if it was still a thing. But with the roster currently constructed, it was not. I get it was the Heat, but I think the Cavaliers proved a lot of people wrong this series. Their reputation, for some reason, was they dropped once the playoffs come around, which made no sense at all for me when they have one of the most infamous playoff riders on their team in Donovan Mitchell. Sure, he didn't have a great series against the Knicks 2 years ago, but that was a completely different team and a completely different system to what it is now. Evan Mobley has taken a huge jump from last year's season. Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, and Ty Jerome can hopefully stay healthy, and they've got the addition of DeAndre Hunter. There's still a lot to prove for the Cavs, but you'd be lying if you said they didn't impress you. Quickly going on to the Heat, Davion Mitchell was phenomenal in the playoffs for them, and they've got to do everything in their power to keep him. They've got to make some moves in the offseason, and I wouldn't be against trading Bam and Andrew Wiggins and building around Tyler Hero and Kel'el Ware. The next series I'll quickly go over is the Oklahoma City Thunder dominating the Memphis Grizzlies. The fact that Shai had a relatively quiet series and the Thunder still won this that easily should be extremely scary for the rest of the league. In Game 1, the Thunder won by a whopping 51 points, and our top 2 candidate for the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander only had 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. There wasn't even a standout in this game. It was a collective effort. Hartenstein had 14 points and 8 rebounds. Jalen Williams had 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Chet had a double-double with 19 points and 2 blocks. Aaron Wiggins gave you 21, and Lu Dort with 12. Unfortunately for the Grizzlies, Ja Morant got injured just over halfway through the series, so the Grizzlies didn't stand a chance once he got hurt. He claimed he figured out the Thunder, which I highly doubt, but it would have been nice if we got to see a chance to see him play the rest of the series. I will be extremely surprised if the Thunder don't make the finals with their defense. You'd imagine it'd be a good matchup for any team with their versatility on the defensive end. Going up against the Nuggets, the matchup should be favoring the Thunder by a lot. The Thunder have what it takes to put a dent in Jokic, in Hartenstein, his former teammate, being his primary defender, and Chet being a roamer, and a double-team option. Plus you got Jalen Williams, another big body to throw at him. You have defenders in Lu Dort, Alex Caruso, and Cason Wallace to slow down Jamal Murray. If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm trying my hardest to re-sign Santi Aldama and Luke Kennard, as long as the price is right. And I'd also trade for another star player and some vets that have some sort of leadership, because it's clear that that's what they lack. Ja Morant has no voice in the locker room, and his leadership is poor. Jaren Jackson Jr. tries, but he just doesn't have the voice to be a leader. It's not league-breaking, but I wouldn't rule out a player for Chris Middleton if I'm the Grizzlies GM. The next series up is the Indiana Pacers vs. Milwaukee Bucks. The Pacers' depth is crazy, and it doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. They have everything they need in their starting lineup. They have an elite playmaker in Tyrese Halliburton. They have shooting in Tyrese, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard, and even Aaron Nesmith has turned himself into a good shooter. They have defense in Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard, and Aaron Nesmith. That's just their starting lineup. Plus you add in their bench of TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, and Thomas Bryant. That's an extremely good backup unit. And when you're playing against Milwaukee, who probably have the most shallow bench in the playoffs, you're more than likely going to tire them out. Damian Lillard, being out for the first game, recovering from his blood clot, was very tough for Milwaukee to recover from. Then he added in, when he came back, he combined for a total of 21 points in the 2 games he plays before he ruptured his Achilles. Giannis had no help whatsoever other than Gary Trent Jr. for like 2 games, Bobby Portis, and Kevin Porter Jr. at times. For a team as championship or bust, that's not nearly enough. It's not like the Bucks have the most promising future to lean back on either. They have like 4 players under 25 on their roster, and they don't own their first round pick for a long time. Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter Jr. both have player options. Taurean Prince, Gary Trent Jr., Jericho Sims, and Brook Lopez are all free agents too. It's going to get ugly for the Bucks this offseason. I'll be very surprised if Giannis is a Buck this time next year. Whether they trade him in the offseason or trade him close to the trade deadline next season. And they've got Damian Lillard on their hands, who will be out for most, if not all of next season. Staying in the Eastern Conference, but moving on to the 2nd seed, Boston Celtics, versus the 7th seed, Orlando Magic. The Celtics took care of business pretty easily. The Celtics team is so good at every aspect of basketball, I'll be completely shocked if they don't make it to the finals. They've got everything you need in their starting lineup. They've got 4 out of 5 guys that can get you a bucket at any time in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Derek White. And it's not like Jrue Holiday is a complete slouch on the offensive side of the ball either. He can still hit a free and burn you with a floater or a backdoor cut if you give him the opportunity to. Everyone in the starting lineup is a very good defender, and they all keep the ball moving if there's a better shot available. Moving back to the defense, if Jaylen Brown is arguably the worst defender in your starting lineup, you know you're doing something right. Their bench isn't as deep as other teams, but they do have guys that can really contribute. Peyton Pritchard is a certified bucket getter and the 6th man of the year that can be a fabulous playmaker and can hold his own defensively, being a disruptor. Al Horford is a great rim protector, considering he's 38 years old, plus his 3-point shot hasn't disappeared at all. Sam Hauser's another good 3-and-D player for them, but he's primarily a perimeter defender. The one thing that might hinder the Celtics is their lack of playmaking. Sure, they have guys like Tatum, who's a good playmaker for his position, and Jrue Holiday is a decent playmaker, but they don't have that one guy like Chris Paul. But it clearly didn't affect them last year, so hopefully they don't run into this problem this year. Moving on to the Magic, it is very obvious they need more scoring around Paolo and Franz. I get Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner were out, but it's not like they're prolific scorers themselves. If I was them, I'd trade for an old friend in Nikola Vucevic or someone like him. Knowing the Bulls as of late, it shouldn't take that much to get him. With the assets they have, they should try and trade for a more polarizing player like Trae Young or Kevin Durant. but Vooch would be a good on-the-low guy to trade for to help them offensively. Other than Mo Wagner, they don't have any important pieces of contract that they have to worry about.
Mid-flight with the newly instated Miles Reed is down. Randall, good start for him. In the corner, left three. The three is down and coming off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker with the triple. Inside the alley-oop. Finney Smith, the release, and the alley-oop will fall.
Watch Edwards now. He's always going to see two players. Vanderbilt shading over right now.
He tries to gash. That defense ties with a nice drive.
I pray he keeps his level.
Oh, look at that delay by Reed with a block. He's got 2 blocks. Lakers going to the bench here in the first half. Here's Reed, free.
Doing so efficiently.
Shot clock at 5. Look at the twirling Reed. Get the feed and count the 2.
Look how wide open the middle is.
It's amazing.
Everything's a struggle for the Lakers offensively.
In the series,
Well, he went around Naj Reed.
LeBron will pick the ball. And it goes to Reeves.
8.3 rebounds and 6.2 assists, including a 43-point
Lakers
game.
have it. LeBron
In 3
ahead.
games,
Vincent,
we had
touch
8
pass.
or more assists. He did all that while keeping Austin Reeves out of the game when it comes
in the second
to
quarter.
Short on the 3.
He did
Go
have
there.
a very poor
Slams it in.
Those
Rudy's
games.
in double figures with
Only
11.
scored
Vincent on
15
Edwards. Close by Vanderbilt and scoops it home. This on Luka on the bench. James, the cut of Vanderbilt. Out to Hachimura. He's free for 3.
Rudy Gobert has had his moments of brilliance.
Rui tonight
Also
with
had
7.
moments where he was so
Edwards
good.
slicing up
If there
and
was any
time.
series
Count it.
he was going to
Foul.
dominate,
8.5 to go in the first half. In the corner,
have to be
Conley, 3. Look
he
it.
did
Nice
that
shot
in
by
game
Mike
5,
Conley.
but was pretty
8+
inconsistent
minutes of
offensively.
bonus action
It was pretty
if you're
disappointing to
Minnesota.
see.
Hachimura, 3.
He made both sides his own.
From the field.
Where he scored
Had not hit a
27
shot. He's hit
points.
6 free throws.
80%
DiVincenzo ring it up for
24 boards.
Dante DiVincenzo.
I cannot talk about this
Doncic,
series and
he'll
not
dance and
mention
jab and
Jaden
fire Luka.
He was
DiVincenzo,
fantastic.
nice shot.
His
Second
defense
made.
on Luka
He's got
was
10 for the
phenomenal.
game for the
And he made
Lakers.
Lakers
Alexander Walker
weak
will
defense
penetrate
play.
and feed. And
25
Gobert is
point
there with that
performance.
size
On
to hammer it
84%
home. And
from the field.
13 for Rudy
And
Gobert.
3
Out to LeBron looking for a mistake.
In game 2,
Down and
the
hammers
only
it
loss,
home.
he was quieter.
It's DiVincenzo. Gobert is there. The side. Cans one from outside. Conley.
Another big 30-point
McDaniels into Luka. Down
16.
he goes, as does the ball.
And
On the
only
way
8
up
points.
inside.
Clearly,
the
someone
closeout
has
game.
said something in
They
the
only
Minnesota
took 4
huddle
shots.
at going at
Moving on to
Doncic.
the Lakers.
With a
For a
three.
very
Rui
good game.
continues
I
to
didn't
hit
think
well from
they'd be
outside.
contenders.
Gobert inside.
But
Got by the defense of
at least
James.
they'd be
And
competitive
again, they
in the
exploit the
first
short
round.
lineup
LeBron
that
just
the
looked
Lakers have
disinterested.
inside.
This
It's
wasn't the same
James.
LeBron
Cut
we've seen
foul.
for the last 20 years.
Aside for
It
Edwards.
wasn't the same.
Who goes
He
round
only
and
still
is way
averaged
into
25 points,
Hachimura.
9
To
rebounds,
go.
and 5.5
Whoa,
assists.
stuck with it.
This series
Toggled
was
his way
terrible.
through. Doncic through traffic. That was a
On the
pretty
stat sheet.
play.
But watching him,
James faking the
wasn't
three.
himself.
Hachimura with a
Mostly
three.
inefficient, and he looked as bad as ever in the defensive end. It's very clear.
Driving on Randall inside. Enzo sets, aims, fires, no.
The next series up is between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. Other than another series that we'll get into shortly, this was probably my favorite and most fun series to watch in the first round. Every single game was close and came down to the last minute. The Knicks didn't play their best brand of basketball and still fended off a very hungry Pistons team. OG Anunoby was huge for the Knicks and didn't quite get the credit he deserves. Everybody looked at Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, but for me, OG was definitely the best player in the series. Not only was he good on both sides of the ball, unlike Brunson and Cat for the most part, but he was extremely consistent and his efficiency was top-notch. Wasn't the greatest Jalen Brunson series, yet he still averaged 31.5 points, including a 40-point game in Game 5, but he did shoot a pretty poor 43% from the field and 35% from the free, which isn't that bad but for an All-NBA player, you'd want him to be a little more consistent. Karl Anthony Towns wasn't the most consistent either. He did have games where he was on. He scored 20 or more 3 times this series, but also scored 10 points twice and 17 another time. He did have a good series efficiency-wise, where he shot just under 50% from the field and free, but you'd want a little more from your more than likely an All-NBA center. Moving on to the Pistons, I have to give a lot of credit to Tobias Harris. I was not expecting him to be a factor of any sorts, with his history of not showing up in the playoffs for the 76ers, but he was a huge reason why this series went to 6 games. His stats may not look that good on paper, and his efficiency may not have been the greatest, but he hit some timely shots to swing momentum. I want to give another shout out to Dennis Schroeder. I thought his defense on Brunson, for the most part, was incredible, considering he isn't known as the best defender in the world. In Game 5 especially, I thought he was exceptional at denying Brunson the ball, mucking up the Knicks' whole offense. Defense wasn't the only reason why Schroeder was getting playing time. He hit some huge threes in the closing stages of games this series. If anyone had any concerns on if Cade Cunningham was a superstar caliber, they're real quiet now. He didn't have the most outstanding playoff appearance, but for his first time, I'd say he was pretty good. A lot of young stars tend to go missing in their first time playing in the playoffs, but he didn't. His efficiency may have dropped off a little bit, but he just kept attacking the Knicks and putting pressure on them, taking the Knicks to 6 games without their second leading scorer, Jaden Ivey, and their backup center, Isaiah Stewart, is very impressive. And if I was a Pistons fan, I'd be ecstatic with the Pistons' performance this postseason and their future ahead. The next series up is between the number 2 seed, Houston Rockets, and the 7th seed, Golden State Warriors, in a wrestling match. The Warriors obviously pulled out the victory in 7 games. If you love defense, this was the series for you. The Warriors pretty much relied on 2 players to score the majority of their points, in their 2 superstars, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, even in the late stages of their careers. In the 7 games, Steph averaged 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, on 47% from the field and 37% from free. Jimmy Butler also had a great series offensively, where he averaged 21.5 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, where he shot 46% from the field and a pretty poor 5 from 16 from free, which is only 31%. But he hasn't disappointed on the defensive end, with this Warriors' elite team defense. Draymond Green was his usual self. He was the leader of the pack defensively, and he wasn't a complete black hole on the offensive side of the ball either. He wasn't a prolific scorer, but he was finding ways to be effective with and without the ball. Either that be the usual dribble handoff to get Steph a relatively open free, or a fake handoff where he drove to the rim to get an open layup, or a backdoor cut, and he occasionally hit a free when he was left wide open, even though he only hit the free ball at a 25% clip. Buddy Hield was very inconsistent in the series. Some games he looked like Kyle Korver, and other games he looked like Shaq out there. I guess it's nothing different from the regular season, but he had an exceptional Game 7 where he saved the Warriors' season, in a game where he shot 9 from 11, which is 81% from free, and he scored 33 points. I fall for someone who's known to be lackluster on the defensive end. His defense was pretty good in this series. 2 players I was extremely disappointed in was Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga. It's not entirely Kuminga's fault, because he wasn't getting much playing time to start the series, and that completely destroyed his confidence. But in Game 2, he played 26 minutes, where he scored 11 points, and shot a poor 4 from 12 from the field. It was meant to be the game where he proved he deserved playing time, and he decided to no-show. Moving on to Brendan Przemski, he had such a good finish to the season after a very poor start, and he went back to his early season form for most of round 1, except for one game where he scored 26 points on 50% from the field. If it wasn't clear before, it is very clear now that the Rockets desperately need some offensive-minded guys this offseason. I thought this was a series where Cam Whitmore could really break out, but even though their offense really struggled, he wouldn't get any playing time. Jalen Green has been incredibly disappointing to start his career, but he was deemed one of, if not the best pure scorer in his draft class, but he just hasn't lived up to the expectations. I'm not saying the Rockets should give up on him, but I also would be entertaining trade ideas for him if they would go for someone like Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. The last series up is the absolute chess match between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers. Aaron Gordon was huge for the Nuggets, and I'd go out on a limb and say he was the deciding factor on why the Nuggets won this series. Obviously, he had that game-winning putback, but when the Nuggets were struggling defensively, he would always step up. Jokic's offense was huge for the most part as well. He was still shaky defensively, but his offense is solely why he's considered a top 2 player in the league. Jokic averaged 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists on 50% from the field and 45% from free. In 7 games, he had a double-double in 6 of them. Those are elite numbers. Jamal Murray returned to his playoff best this series. His numbers weren't terrific, but going up against the Clippers, who had the second best defensive rating going into the playoffs, it was always going to be hard for him to have an impact, but he did. He averaged just under 23 points and 5.8 assists on 48% from the field and 40% from free. Russell Westbrook was huge up against the team he played for this time last year. It wouldn't be a Russ series if he didn't have moments of brilliance and other moments that leave you scratching your head. In the 6 games he played, he averaged 16 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 3.2 assists on 43% from the field and 41% from free. But in the last 3 games of the series, he shot 52% from the field and 50% from free. It's great to see Russ has completely changed his playstyle. He has turned himself into a selfless player that is a very good cutter and has improved his 3-point shooting. His defense has also improved out of sight. Christian Braun also was a huge factor in his series. His defense on Harden was tremendous, and he just knows his role in this Nuggets offense perfectly. Kawhi Leonard turned back the clock this series. He was playing his heart out, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Norman Powell did drop off his production just a bit from the regular season, but it was still pretty good in most games. James Harden was pretty good in most games as well. He came out of the gate aggressive, and if his shot wasn't falling, he would set up his teammates. Other than Game 7, he was great. It just sucks that Game 7 choke will be all people remember. I'm expecting the Clippers to run it back and make minor moves around the edges, but it also wouldn't be very surprising if they traded James Harden. That's gonna end this video. Sorry it came out so late. I was sick for the last 2 weeks. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.